We had that conversation yesterday. I was telling you. You're the one that just doesn't remember. I'm serious. I was telling you. Well, I'll bring it tomorrow, not to worry. It just can't come today. Tomorrow I'll bring it, I promise.
What is going on in this house? And why this woman thinks I should be the one to wash her plate? It's bad enough that I just decided to wash. It's just the two of us at home. And she just, all of a sudden, I think I'm turning to house help in this house. But I'll give the benefit of a doubt and maybe ask her why she thinks I should wash the plate. She was on the phone. She couldn't even say, excuse me, please, can you handle this for me? Just drop the plate and just walk out like that. I think, babe.
Yep.
Please come.
Yep. On my way. What's up?
What's up?
Hi, honey.
You just dropped the plates like that and just walked away. You didn't even say, oh, well done, you're washing plates.
Oh, you were already washing the dishes.
Can you help with this, or something? You're on the phone.
I didn't think I needed to. I was in the middle of making a call.
But that person that you're speaking to is not more important than me, and I'm also doing the house chore here,
All right. I actually just came and thought, since you're already here, I might as well just let you finish.
And drop more plates.
It's just one.
You had the beans anyhow. See the plates here. The place is looking scattered. I didn't even know how to start.
Is the beans the offense now, or is it the plates? Which one is annoying you?
It's that you came and dropped plate for your husband to wash.
Okay, husband. I'm sorry. Is that okay?
It's okay. Apology accepted. I'm managing to just accept it. Yeah.
All right, please. Yep.
So now that you're forgiven.
Even though I don't know what the offense was.
Oh, no. Let's not go back into it.
In the interest of peace.
No, you have apologized and let's move on. Your husband was washing plates and you came to drop your dirty plates. That is the issue. But let's move on. But let's talk about this.
That is exactly the issue, because it's what goes on every day. It wouldn't have been so jarring if I had been washing the dishes and you had come to drop the plate without so much as an excuse me or thank you. But when the tables turn,
I would have done that.
No, you wouldn't. Zero.
I would have done that. Just bring the plate and say, let's talk about it as a matter of open communication.
Yes.
Roles within the family, within a marriage. Some of these roles are traditional, while some of them are, functional. Do you understand? Yes. Where do we start to draw the line? Who should do what? This is 21st century and things have evolved. But at the same time, some of us still have some bit of ego to protect in the midst of all this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the sooner we come to terms with the fact that some of our expectations are deeply rooted in traditions that maybe do not hold properly in the modern context that we found ourselves in. I think the sooner we will come to a place of peace, because there's so many relationships, so many marriages right now that are in bitter contentions, fighting without end, simply because they failed to recognize the reality of the context they are in. They want to have their feet firmly planted in a 1900 or 1800 tradition, but they still want to be in these
I'm
current
hearing you,
times.
but I'm struggling. I mean, when we talk about the context that we're in and all that, how do you gauge that with a man having to, take care of children in a certain way, change their power, do all that. And this man, is maybe a chief executive, started a business, the business is growing, it's running all over the place, and he's trying to focus on how to to provide for the family. I mean, I was washing plates, but not many men want to wash plates. Mainly from the point of view of, I have my own fair share of responsibility cut out for me to be the breadwinner in this home. Where do we draw the line between breadwinning and washing plate and home keeping and all
the other roles? I mean, in the first place, I must say that we should acknowledge the fact that you even found yourself at the sink washing dishes. We shouldn't gloss over that. Sometimes it's easy for us to say, but you should know that it is our responsibility and not my responsibility. But it's still useful to acknowledge the fact that you did find yourself at the sink washing dishes and to say, well done. But then just speaking generally about families and homes and the fact that it is very true. We find ourselves at different times shouldering different levels of responsibility and having responsibility for different things. The truth is that I don't know of many modern homes today where the responsibility for financial provision is not shared between the couples. And I hear you say that, yes, breadwinner, and I need to win bread, and I have to go out there and fight and slay dragons. I hear you. But I don't know of any. I'm struggling right now. I don't know of many.
So that means in our own context, the concept of breadwinnership is winning away.
It's not shared winning something.
So it's not the in the current context, in 21st century context, it's shared responsibility.
It's shared responsibility.
Does that then mean that if it's shared responsibility for breadwinning, it should be shared responsibility for all that?
So that exactly is the challenge. The challenge is that it was very easy, I think, for people to bring their minds into the space where we're sharing responsibility for providing for our home, for making sure the children go to school, making sure that we have a home to live in, making sure that the bills are paid. But it was a slower progression to even get a lot of the men to understand that we would also need to rebalance some of the chores around the house. Now, I know this sounds like a very blanket statement. Forgive me if it's accusing some people who really, kudos to those men who have through time risen up and shouldered responsibilities, I remember when we first started having our daughters, and I pushed back and said, you know what, I need you to be involved. I need you to carry, this as well. And what we evolved at that time was that I would bathe our daughter, I think 4 mornings of the week, and you would take 2 mornings of the week, and then the weekend, we would just.
And then we shared take him to school, put him in the car seat, driving them through traffic to get them to school in the morning. Sometimes you do it, sometimes I do it, and that bit of the driving, I did most of it though, and then you did most of the washing their feeding bottles and
making sure that they were packed and ready for school on a given morning.
So I understand in the context of parenting that it's a shared responsibility. Even the mundane part of it, of taking care of their household needs and all. The women seem to feel like they have a heavy burden on them when all that is just abdicated and just left with them.
Dumped on the woman. And I think it's just again, coming back to our story and the fact that I'm grateful today that it wasn't always a smooth, rebalance. We say that rebalancing responsibilities. Sometimes it was more turbulent than at other times. But I'm grateful today that we, at every point in time, were able to talk about it. And that's really what I want to emphasize. The fact that we're able to talk about the fact that there were times when this load seemed really heavy on me. When we were starting out, in marriage, we sat down and we talked about the responsibilities we had. There was the rent. There were other fees that needed to be paid. And we were not shy about sitting down and very practically, looking at our resources.
So you're emphasizing the place of open communication. In sharing roles.
In sharing responsibilities and roles.
So, but are there other factors? Because sometimes people talk about things and they're not able to agree. Okay. So it's one thing for us to have open communication. It's another thing for us to come to the place of agreement eventually.
But I think I think very often we misunderstand what communication means. Communication is not just I'm talking at you. And I remember this from the first class I took in mass communication. In order for there to be communication, real productive conversation, I am passing a message to a sender, to the receiver. I'm the sender passing it to the receiver. The receiver must receive the information I'm giving, and there must be feedback that indicates that you understand both my language, both my context, and everything else that goes with that conversation. So that is.
So what you're saying that communication is not as simple or simplistic.
Yes.
But it's at the bedrock of everything. Absolutely. If we can talk about anything and everything, yes, we are a little closer to resolving it.
Absolutely.
What are the other issues around this that we must?
What helped us as well, I think, is that basic understanding that, look, if I care for this person that I'm in a relationship with, then I'm not too quick to throw every responsibility at them. That duty of care, right? I care for you, and because I care for you, I'm not only absorbed by the overwhelm I'm feeling right now, I'm also concerned about your context and where you're coming from. But I know that we can't stay here, so I'm lovingly trying to get us to move in the direction where we must go. So I think care. So
care will show up even when I'm tired, when I'm overwhelmed. Yes. Like I just get back from work, and getting back from work, maybe you have been home earlier, and yet there's no food, and
which happen often, by the way.
And then maybe just if you care enough, just say, oh, okay, what are we eating? Rather than saying, why haven't you made food, or things like that. Because whether it's you or me, it's energy, it's, and sometimes we're tired. It's not just you, I'm tired, you're tired, or I'm tired and then I assume that you are not. Yes. So I'm putting pressure on you to say, okay,
why were you not able to
do this and that? So it's that care that kind of thinks about the other person's state of mind, their energy level,
where they're coming from,
what they've had to deal with
all day.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we've talked about chores and all of that, but it's useful to also go to the other end of the spectrum and talk about, as a woman, for example, you're coming home from work as well, and you know that maybe your spouse, your husband has been dealing with a pretty challenging project at work. He's in a really tough mind space, and in as much as you have a timetable and a schedule, it's his turn to do the dishes, or it's his turn to change baby's diapers. There is room for care and kindness in that context. It's when usually my care gets taken for granted, and what I did today just to sort you out because I realized that I needed to stretch a little bit for you today, but then you now want to take it for granted, and tomorrow you decide, oh, but you could have done it. If you did it yesterday, that means you might as well continue to do it all the time. So just balancing that. But I absolutely agree that kindness and care is critical to this conversation about balancing gender roles, so it doesn't degenerate into a full-scale war.
So that was what almost happened when you came to drop the plates and I was washing. So the care was taken for granted.
Yes.
And you didn't even say, you just concentrated on who you're talking to on the phone. You couldn't even say, hey babe, please, can you help with this? Or look, I'm on the call. You just dropped it and walked away.
Okay. Accepted.
So, but lastly, culture.
Yes. So we've talked about the first
C. The reason why this culture thing is important is God bless the soul of my mother. She's in heaven. But if she was here now and I was washing plate and
she would rebel.
She would pull me to a corner and say, are you the one washing plate for your wife now?
It's bad enough that you're washing plates, and then I came to drop it for you. All hell has broken loose.
So where do we park the cultural side of this?
You see, this tradition, we've talked about it already within this short, banter, but that feature of culture and tradition is so strong. And many of us don't even realize that the context for what we're doing right now is that culture, that tradition, that we don't even, it's so subconscious, it's so subliminal that we don't realize. And how do we help ourselves? We catch ourselves. Catch yourselves at the
So it's more like the culture, the behavior of our ancestors hijacks our own current day
After all,
mannerism.
my own mother made sure that there were 3 meals on the table 7 days a week. If you are not doing it, you must be a lazy woman. Or my father made sure the fees were paid before the first day of school. If you cannot do it, you are worse than an infidel. Are you hearing all of this now? It has colorations of culture, where I'm coming from, my background, that may not really be taking into consideration our own. We have a context.
So, but I agree that we should not allow the behavior of our ancestors, whether dead or alive,
to take us into bondage.
To take us into bondage, and we should put everything on the table. But even when you think about it, let me play the angel's advocate. Even the Bible talks about a Proverbs 31 woman who just has a way around stuff. She sorts all kinds of things out.
She was a superwoman.
Superwoman. So who is that Proverbs 31 woman now? In London, England, New York, or in Sydney,
Lagos,
Australia,
Nigeria.
or Lagos, Nigeria, or Dubai, UAE? Where's the Proverbs 31 woman who's super, who sorts everything out, and so that I can just come in and just lounge?
I love it. It sounds right like the Proverbs 31
very
woman
industrious,
was very industrious. She was a superwoman. She was Wonder Woman. She was all of these things all wrapped into one. But no one ever asks the question, what about the Proverbs 31 man? The man who was secure enough in himself to, because it said that she bought fields, she negotiated stuff, she did all of that. She had all of these businesses and people answering to her. She was running things, but he was seated at the gates. He was not a small fry himself. I agree. But someone told me something many years ago that I've always held very dearly. And she said, one of the most important career choices you will make in your life is the decision of who you marry. You cannot want, your career choice. Yeah. Exactly. It almost sounds counterintuitive, but it's so true. You can't want to be in the boardroom, running major corporations, owning your own, and then you marry someone who will not eat unless it is your own soup that you've cooked today. As in, you must cook a fresh pot every day or else he will not eat. So deeply stuck and rooted in this dogma, right? So it's very important, and especially for people who haven't even made that choice of who to marry.
Yeah, for that kind of a person as well, it may be, something from his father's house. That's how his father, the only thing is that maybe his father lived in the village or in the suburbs somewhere, and he's now living in the city.
Maybe they were able, his mother and his father were able to navigate that at that time. But look at where you are today. In the current context of where you are today.
Current context where all the food are in the freezer and you bring it out, microwave yourself, there's nothing like fresh.
Exactly.
Or it's fresh from the microwave.
If we care for each other, we won't hold so strongly to the things that we insist on without thinking, how does this affect my spouse? What pressure does this bring to them? What compromises do they have to make in order to show up in the way I'm asking them to show up? And then the other thing about the Proverbs 31 woman I didn't want to forget is the fact that we talk about the Proverbs 31 woman as if she got there in one day. It's a journey. It's an evolving story. And the way we've held that Proverbs 31 up, like this immovable standard that no one can ever meet, and it brings guilt and shame sometimes to some woman who is thinking, there is no way, I can't even sew, I can't even do half of that stuff. So clearly I do not qualify for the excellence that these people are trying to measure me up to. But please, it's not a destination, it's a journey.
So there's a journey into becoming that kind of a woman that was described in Proverbs 31 in the Bible,
context.
that own her own, within the culture and the context where she lived.
Exactly.
She seemed to be everything to everyone. She was great at home, great in negotiation, great in starting businesses, great in running businesses, great in raising kids, and the cheerleader of her husband.
In fact,
the only thing was that the reference that we had was that her husband was like a lawmaker or a chief in the city and all that. So the Proverbs 31 man today is also a man that should be able to stand up, brace up, make things happen, and get his hand dirty when he needs to. Gets involved with, almost everything that he can get involved with at home. Be relevant at home and be super at work. That may sound daunting, but it's achievable, especially when you are doing it from the point of view of duty of care.
Absolutely.
That that is vested on you as a Proverbs 31 man.
Exactly.
Well, I need to continue washing my plate.
You're not finished washing the plates? Since that time.
Step aside.
Okay, but just before we leave, I just really don't want us to leave this place without just really bringing it home.
Yeah.
We talked about 3 C's that we think are really critical for anyone negotiating this particular bend in their lives. And the 3 C's we mentioned were communication.
Yep.
We talked about care. And we talked about culture.
Managing culture. And not allowing the traditions of your ancestors to run your family in the modern time.
Exactly.
Because it's a recipe for disaster.
It's a recipe for disaster.
The contexts are completely different.
Not even in these days of remote working, and perhaps your wife has to journey miles and miles in the morning, but you're a remote worker, and you even have the benefit and the blessing of being at home with your children. Don't assume that, because it is the woman's responsibility, you completely abdicate that, and don't see the blessing that you actually have in being there for your children in those formative years. So let us roll with the times.
Very important. I agree with you.
Yeah.
The balance of it is also in this age of gig economy and all kinds of things. The women are also making money. Good money.
Lots of money.
Yes, so we have to be slicing the bread.
But we've always sliced
the bread. This side, I bake this side.
We've always sliced the bread, baby.
Yeah.
We've always sliced.
No, I know, and I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking generally. For anyone who will benefit from this, the bread. We're baking together.
We're winning together.
Other things
we're baking together.
We're parenting together.
We're
doing everything together.
Exactly.
And we're doing it from the point of view of the duty of care.
Yes.
If I care enough about you, then I should be able to support. I should be able to do this and do that. So in that spirit of support, you will now join me and support me in the washing of this plate.
No, I'll clap for you.
By the way, don't forget to share, to like, and to make your comment. Let us know whether or not this is applicable in your own home, how you're navigating it, what has been the contention in your home, and how you're sorting it out. But you can use the 3 C's that we've said: communication, care, and culture. Look at it from those frames, and I'm sure you'll have a great comment that somebody can benefit from. So put your comment there. Babe, let's do this. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yes.